What's up guys, Ben here, bringing you the second of two videos. We're breaking down key things to watch for Major 2. We did the bottom 6 teams in the last video. Now we're going to talk about the top 6 teams, what they do well in Major 1, what they need to do to take the next step. Kind of the prevailing theme, I think, when we get through this video is for a lot of these teams, I think there's a lot to like about their performance in Major 1. We're going to kind of highlight the few things that they can do to really get in that rich vein of form, expand their map pool, really take the step into being a dominant S-tier team, and maybe win this Major 2 cycle. A lot to like about these 6 teams. So let's dive in with the teams that place 5th and 6th. And first up in this category, a team that I am happy to see here. I think we all absolutely enjoyed the feel-good story about the Vegas Legion. Finally, they have a roster that can get some stuff done. I think this team is going to do a good job grinding and fighting for top 6, top 8 champs qualification all year. And maybe they will get one of these events where they can put it all together and make it to Sunday. And it's really a gritty team. Like, you look at their modes records, and they were an elite S&D team, probably one of the best S&D teams in the league. The win percentage, round win percentage, best in the CDL. This team was just incredible at search, and I really tipped that. But when it comes to the other game modes, especially respawn and hardpoint and control, they were not good. And I think those are the areas they need to focus on. Having a thin map pool where you're 0-2 and 0-3 on 2 maps is going to make it very easy for teams to get one of your better maps out there, and you're going to have to play one of either Fortress or Hotel in every series that you play in. So they need to get better at one or both of those maps, because they're going to keep stacking L's unless they get better there. The control record's kind of okay. 3 and 7 is, I don't think, is super bad. I don't think a Silo is a map that really suits this team. I think they're going to continue to play a lot of Hotel, but, you know, I was very critical of their control gameplay in Major 1. They don't always look on the same page on this game mode, and I think they do need to get better again. They're kind of right now set to be a 2-3-5 team, but I don't have a lot of confidence on game mode 3. So they've been kind of winning like the hard point here and there to get through in those series, but if they want to take the next step as a squad, that's what they're going to really need to work on as a team. And I think the big question in the beginning of the season with this team was we knew that Donnie and Clay would be pretty good. What were we going to get out of Byron, aka Prolute, and TJ? And I think some mixed results. First off, in S&D, especially TJ and Prolute were unbelievable. 2 of the best search players in the league, honestly, in Major 1. Obviously, let's tip really the full performance from the squad. I gotta tip Donnie in particular, though. Like, across all these game modes, Don's put up crazy numbers. We just need to see more from these 3, especially in hardpoint. These are not great numbers, and neither the same in control. I know KD is not everything, but 0.8 in control is the game mode where you need to get kills as a win condition. You either stack points. We need to see a little bit better. So I think for Vegas, you know, the big question now is this top 6 placing that they grind it out in the first event of the season their ceiling, and they're going to kind of sink to the bottom, or we're going to see this team develop over time? Now let's talk about how we answer that question during the Major 2 qualifiers and their schedule of their 5 games they will play. So starting off with Seattle, Boston, Royal Ravens of London, Seattle, or New York, and then Optic. Tricky schedule. I do not like the matchups that they have against other Texas teams. With Vegas, one thing we got to keep in mind with online Call of Duty is their split is horrible. Donnie, aka Temp, is in Atlanta, Clay is in Texas, and TJ and Prolute are both in the Northeast. So like, they are all over the place. They really need to figure out, and I think the org needs to help them get into 1 or like 2 spots to play in, either split between Atlanta and Texas, or I'll get to Texas, because I look at this matchup and it's like Optic Texas team, Subliners Texas team, Seattle Texas team, Boston, that's going to be some kind of like Virginia-ish host probably, and London is on the West Coast, so you're gonna have to play like a Denver server or something, and it's gonna really screw your subs. So like, the online kind of split for this team really sucks. This is a really hard qualifier stage for them. I think there's maybe realistically probably 1 win in there for them in this one, and I expect them to have to unfortunately play through losers, but maybe they surprise us and they grind out a 2nd or a 3rd win. I just think looking at the schedule and the online split for this team, I think it's going to be really tricky. We will see what Vegas is made of during the cycle. Are they, once again, a top 6, top 8 team, or are they going to sink now and really have to scrap for champs qualification? Speaking of champs qualification, this is a team I think that's probably not going to have to worry about qualifying for champs. It's the LA Thieves. Are defending CDL champs. They had an interesting Major 1 cycle. I don't think they're happy with getting top 6, and obviously A lot of that has to do with that tough loss against Toronto, but I see a lot of room for improvement here, and I see a lot of bright spots in their overall Major 1 performance. Even though their slaying was not good, and we'll get to that sort of later on in this, they still grind out a 10-7 record in hardpoint, which is very good. Control 5-4 is solid. The 4-2 record in hotel is also pretty tippable. I like the upside here as they continue to expand their map pool in future majors and online portions. The S&D 5-6 need to see a little bit better from there, but I thought they turned the corner in Surge last year. They probably need to do the same again in this one. I think stay away from Asilo. That's a really kind of a crank your headphone type of map. I'd like to see them play more strategy-based maps than one of those where teams are just going to wait and make dead silence plays. I don't think it really plays the strength of Thieves. So want to see them on other maps? Outside of all of that, I think the biggest focus point for Thieves is the 0.95 overall KD and hardpoint as a team, 0.94 in Surge, 0.97 in Control. They just didn't slay well. I think Kenny in particular, the 0.89 in hardpoint, 0.81 in S&D, 0.91 Control. I don't think he had a good Major 1 cycle, but I expect him to rebound. But even like their ARs, who I expect to slay a little bit better, under a 1 in hardpoint. Sam at a 0.9 in S&D, which he needs to turn that around. A 1 for draws in S&D, a 1 for draws in Control, and a 0.91 for Sam. So, I think just in general, and Envoy's numbers are kind of up and down as well. I think in general, they just need to slay better, which I can see them turning around. But keep in mind, that was their biggest problem last year at times. So just an overall large thing. I think for Ken too, it might be time once again to take the YY button, aka just the Y button off his controller. He got caught a couple of times in this Major 1 cycle in some critical gunfights where he was YYing. I think once again they're going to joke about it, but he needs to try and work on that a little bit. But for me, I still think that Thieves is a good team. Top 6, not a bad placing. Just want to see them assert themselves in S&D, keep expanding that map pool and respawn. And if they can turn around the corner in slaying, once again, they're going to be a team you're going to see a lot on Sundays. Let's talk about their Major 2 qualifier schedule. They're going to start off against New York, LAG, Toronto Ultra, London Royal Ravens, and then they will play Boston. I think this is a good set of matches for Thieves to learn a lot about their team. The LAG and London game should be a W on paper. They do have a couple of tough matches outside of that, though. Boston's a weird one online. Toronto is a weird one online, in New York, so that Dallas to LA matchup. But I expect Thieves to win at least one of those, so I feel good value on them getting 3 wins in this qualifier cycle, making it to bracket. I expect Thieves to turn it around and be one of the teams that we talk about in a couple of weeks when we do our actual Major 2 preview about having opportunity to win this event. Only room for improvement for the Thieves team. All right, we are getting to the Sunday teams, the teams that made it to the final day of Major 1, and we're going to kick things off with the team that got 4th, Toronto Ultra, a young, gritty team. A lot was said about this team by myself in the offseason. I thought they might be a little bit slower to grow in, but they came in pretty quick and asserted themselves. I think Scrappy in particular, kind of the star of this team, even though he comes in my chat all the time and trolls and says that I don't play COD and a bunch of other BS. I love the kid. He's definitely very talented, and I think they got a lot out of Standy as well. Kleenex is playing good. Jamie's playing good. We'll dive into individual stats in a second, but let's talk about overall in terms of map records where this team is at. 8-5 record, S&D, very good. You like to see that if you're a Toronto fan. This has been a historically good franchise in search, and they're continuing that trend. They're over on the league second in first blood win percentage on defense, so that you like to see. Their map pool and S&D is very good. Obviously, 0-1 Embassy, need to work on that, but I like the paths forward in the game mode. Control was a big strong point for them, 7-3, although they didn't play any Fortress. The 4-1 Hotel is very good, 3-2 on Asilo. I like that for this team. Again, let's see if they start playing some Fortresses, because it did not get played at all in their series. 10-9 in hardpoint, pretty good. These guys are kind of the Hotel stars, so I wonder if teams will start getting rid of Hotel against them in the vetoes. The only thing we kind of talk about the hardpoint map pool, though, if teams are going to get rid of Hotel, is it means that if you're Toronto Ultra, you're likely going to have to play either Fortress or HYDRA in every series. So need to get better at one of those maps. And of note, this is a team that weirdly enough in Major 1 were shut out on 28 total hills, which is second most in the CDL. So it's hard to read too much in that stat if they're just chalking hills early or they're getting a lot of momentum kind of base situations in Toronto. these sort of maps that Toronto's playing. I don't know how to read too much in that stat. I just thought it was very interesting. But I think in general, the takeaway for her point is get better at Fortress or get better at Hydro, or you're going to get a very weak map in your pool every time that you play a series. And like I said, the slaying across the board, just very good for this team and across all game modes. Danny was their weakest search player by KD, but a 0.95 is fine. You know, we see these control KDs is crazy. Overall 1.1 team in control. I mean, this is a good graded team. I like this Toronto team. Again, I think this team's got more upside than last year's team. They have a nose on how to win. Let's see if they're consistent Sunday regular, as I like to put it. But I'd like to start for this Toronto team. They look in very good shape. Let's talk, though, about Major 2 cycle. Who are they going to play? They start off against London, and they got Florida Thieves, Optic, and LAG. I like this schedule for Toronto. I think London, LAG, Florida should be dubs. Thieves and Optic. A lot of interesting things to say about those matchups. This is a team I think that can go like 4-1, maybe 5-0 online. I think Toronto's in good shape for Major 2. Not really much else for me to say. I want to keep seeing this team grow and get better, but the upside for this team is as expected. They are a real contender this season, and I'm excited to see how they do at Boston. Speaking of teams that are contenders, Atlanta FaZe, once again, making it to a Sunday and not winning. They played an absolute stinky on Sunday in Respawn, and something they really need to work on is like this team is very good. They're always a top 1, top 2 team. And then whenever happens on the weekends at these events, they're just not the best team at the event. They need to get to that level and they will start winning a lot again. But still a lot to like from them in the Major 1 cycle. I think the biggest improvement from last season, that 9-5 record in search, is very good. You expect that with Austin coming in. He's very search oriented, and you know, his style of S&D as a default very much fits how they like to play. Get your reads, either play for picks, play for mid-round adjustment, and then hit them with some counter punch, absolute like banger threats off the rip. I think that's why they're like 4-0 in Embassy, because no one could deal with the Abizi First Bloods on that map. They're going to always be a tricky S&D team to play, and again, especially in an era where, you know, FaZe had a really good hardpoint record. 55% is about where most of the good teams are going to land. If you can get in that 65 win percentage in S&D, like, you are going to win a lot of your series. And I think the other thing for FaZe 2 is they showed that they were willing to play every map during the Major 1 split. So it makes it kind of difficult to game planning against, because I think this is a team that will square up on most maps. They had some auto vetoes-ish at times last year. We'll see what happens this year. I would say if I were them, don't play Fortress S&D. It's not worth it. But they are a deep team in terms of, you know, how they approach the game. That being said, on the map pool, I do think Fortress and Hydro are 2 maps, just like we talked about with Toronto, I want to see them work on, because I think they're always going to be a good hotel team. They're always going to be a good Mercado team. Embassy, I think they're going to end up playing a lot. But if they can get good, especially at like Hydro, their team becomes very difficult to play against. They're going to get a lot of these like map 4 Hydro plays, and they're going to be good closeout maps for FaZe. I expect them to get a lot better in that map. Fortress is like a very straight up map, and very much is like, can you just sort of milk your P3 time? But Hydro, if you're FaZe, there's just a lot of ways that MC and your subs can go off. So I think if you can improve that map, they are going to be absolutely chilling in hardpoint. And by the way, they did this with Slasher being the weakest player on the team in terms of overall slaying. 0.97 in hardpoint, a 0.8 in S&D. I know 104 in control is actually pretty good. So I think for Austin, want to see a little bit more there. Oddly enough, Abizi 0.93 in hardpoint. Let's see if he can turn that around. But MC's having a good season so far. Obviously, we know Simp is very good as well. I don't have any problem with these slaying numbers. Overall, as a team, they're slaying well. And Austin's always a historical slow starter. Yeah, I mean, for FaZe, a good team will be there or thereabouts. Let's take a look at their Major 2 schedule, though. They're going to start off against Seattle. They play Minnesota, New York, LAG, and Optic. Not an easy schedule for FaZe, I got to be honest. They got to play the Major 1 winners. They got to play Optic as their final match. They got to play Minnesota and Seattle. I think probably 2-3 wins in here for FaZe. I think it's going to be difficult for them to maybe find 4 or 5. But you never know with this team. But I feel, once again, like this team's going to always figure out a way to get in the winner's bracket. And not let it go down to the Optic match. I think they're going to get it done. I'm excited for that Seattle rematch. Every time that FaZe plays Seattle, it's always a banger. And we're going to get that one early on in the Major 2 cycle. So I'm excited. All right, we are on now to your runners up from Major 1, the Seattle Surge. And a lot discussed about this team in this little Christmas, New Year's holiday break. Was Pred going to stay or go to Optic? It seems like for now he is staying. And the Seattle team grinded out Major 1 and came up just short against New York in the finals. I think the two obvious areas, I think you take a look at this, pretty much stand out. One, Hardpoint. They just are very good this game mode. Even when they lose, they keep it close. And their map pool in Hardpoint is just deep, bro. I mean, take a look. They play all 5 maps in the pool, have good records on them. It's just hard to really game plan against this team on this game mode. But if there's an opportunity, if you're an opponent, that 4-10 record in search is not great. They really struggled in search before they got to the land, turned a little bit of a corner in the game mode when they got there. But historically, Seattle's been a bad S&D team. It really costed them last year at Champs on Tuscan that they were just had some deficiencies on that map and just in general in that mode the whole year. It's the same thing this year. I think it's what's limiting this ability for this team to just win multiple events in a season, because they're definitely good enough talent-wise, but the S&D is something that they need to work on. Their retake percentage was second worst in the league in Major 1, 17%. 0-4 in combined on Hotel and Mercado. They need to expand this map pool. Just being good at a CeeLo is not going to cut it. So let's see what they do to get better across the board in S&D. And again, just a quick talk on slaying with this team. Mac and Lamar continue to be X factors. Around a 0.95 in Hardpoint, 0.7s in S&D, not good. And then Lamar to 0.85 in Control, a 1 for Mac. You know, want to see a little more consistency from these guys, but the way that they set up is a little bit different from a lot of other teams. You know, they really try to create situations where Pred and Sib can make plays, and Lamar and Mac kind of do the dirty work. I mean, look at Lamar's hill time per 10 and 91. Like, this guy's the super soaker in Hardpoint and lets guys like Pred get away with only 40 seconds in hill because he wants to push out cuts, making plays on the map. And it worked for Seattle. They beat a lot of really good teams at Major 1. And obviously, like I said, they came up just short against New York. But I expect Seattle to be there or thereabouts the whole year. Are they going to consistently be top 4? We shall see. Let's take a look at their Major 2 schedule. And it's a tricky one. They start off against Vegas. Then they got to play FaZe Optic, and they got to play New York, and then close out against Minnesota, which will probably be whether or not one of those teams makes winner's bracket, because I look at the schedule for Seattle, and it is hard, bro. Vegas is a winnable game, but obviously your deficiencies in S&D make that one a pretty dicey matchup. FaZe and Optic are always going to be tough outs, especially online. New York as well, considering that's a Texas matchup. And then again, as we just talked about Minnesota, that might be the one for one of these teams that they're going to need to get a result in this one to make it to winners. It might be a tricky cycle for Seattle, and then everybody's going to blame it on the Pred going to Optic and selling the team. Bro, the thing with Seattle just once again is this. If they continue to be kind of sort of below average in S&D, they're going to kind of fluctuate what we saw last season between winning events and getting top 12. They're going to be a good team, but they're just not going to get consistent results. Let's see if that holds up this season, especially at Major 2. Last but not least, we get to the team, the surprise team that I don't think anyone really had winning Major 1. The New York Subliners, quickly turning around a team culture that was not great. If you remember the flank off episode from the off season, a lot to like about this New York team. And I'm also, you know, for me personally, there are a number of players that I was critical about, like HYDRA in the off season, and players that I thought would play better on this team. Priesta, I'm glad to see this team grab the victory early and kind of silence haters like myself. But let's see if they can kick it on from there. Not a lot to nitpick with this team, really. I mean, they were just nasty in Control, played all 3 maps. Obviously, they went to in a CeeLo. Let's see if they can expand the pool there. Really good search team, played all the maps. 1 and 2 in Fortress is fine. I think that map kind of sucks for search. You don't need to play it. They actually didn't play a CeeLo S&D either, so interesting to see if they try to expand the pool there. And in the Hardpoint map pool, they didn't play any Embassy. So they've got some auto viewers across all 3 game modes, it looks like, at the moment. I mean, the 9-1 in Hotel and Fortress Control is insane, by the way. Like, that is going to be very tough for teams to pick your poison on the game mode. And also of worth, I believe their Game 5 record was pretty good at Major 1. 3-0 in Game 5s is exactly what you want from your team, especially if you're grinding out series, which is what's going to happen as we get later in the season. People start to get better all the game modes. Yeah, I think the big thing for them is just cleaning up some of this. Like, you know, you've got this auto veto ish here. You've got this one. Yes, they were kind of all over the place in Control, but it doesn't matter. They're good at the game mode. I think these two, to me, are the real focus points. Can you get a little better of a CeeLo S&D? Can you get better And Embassy Hardpoint is going to make your team even more difficult to play against if you don't have the auto veto. So let's see what they do. The slaying numbers for this team are amazing. HYDRA obviously having a little bit of an MVP season again, but Priesta, who was, a lot of people were critical about, had an amazing Major 1 cycle. The numbers from Kiz and HYDRA are great as well. If we scroll through here and take a look, Caesar Skies, especially as an AR, I don't think got a lot of love from people in the last couple of weeks, but I thought Caesar played amazing. I like this New York team, a very good start. I think the question is, are they going to go back to back? Unlikely, but let's take a look at their schedule for Major 2. They play Thieves, then they got Florida FaZe, the Vegas Legion, and then Seattle. So I really like the schedule for them. They should be able to get it done against Vegas and Florida and probably win 2 of 3 between Thieves, FaZe, and Seattle, or go 1 and 3. But either way, I think there's 3 wins somewhere between these 5 matches for New York, maybe 4, maybe 5. They should be good value for winners bracket. I'd be very, very, very shocked if this team had a stinker and have to play for losers. I think they're going to have a good opportunity once again at Major 2 to make it to Sunday and showcase their ability. Shout out to the New York boys for being your best team in the league right now. So yeah, that's the sort of preview, guys, for Major 2. I'm really excited to start watching these matches. Make sure you stay and check out my stream throughout the weekend. We're going to be watching matches probably with Tommy, to be honest. You guys know how this goes. Make sure you check that out. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything about these 6 squads. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more. Obviously, next week we'll break down all the action from this weekend. And we're going to do a Q&A video in the next couple of days as well, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.